My name is Emma, and I'm 27 years old. I've lived in this city for almost 3 years now, and as much as I love it, there are things about it that make me want to tear my hair out. One of the main things? My roommate, Chloe. I met Chloe when I first moved here. I had just graduated and was eager to start my career, but the job market was brutal, and rent prices in this city are nothing short of ridiculous. Finding a place that was both affordable and close to work was practically impossible. So when Chloe posted on her roommate website saying she was looking for someone to share a 2-bedroom apartment, I jumped at the chance. She seemed fine at first. Friendly, helpful, and everything appeared to be perfect. She was older than me by about 5 years, but we had some similar interests, like a love for takeout food and a shared distaste for early mornings. The apartment was in a great location, near cafes, parks, and only a few blocks from my office. It was everything I could have asked for, and I was willing to overlook a few quirks about Chloe in order to stay there. But over time, the cracks started showing. At first, it was the little things. Chloe would leave dishes in the sink for days, never paying her share of the bills on time, and occasionally, I'd come home to find the place a complete mess. I'd bring it up to her, and she'd apologize, promising to do better. But things never really changed. I started doing more of the cleaning, picking up her slack, and paying a bit more for utilities just to keep things running smoothly. What made it worse was that she was always around, working from home most of the time, lounging on the couch, or inviting people over at odd hours. And the worst part? She never respected my boundaries. She'd barge into my room without knocking, leave her stuff scattered in common areas, and use my things without asking. I could have left. In fact, I almost did a few times. But the location of this apartment was just too perfect. It was close to everything I needed: my work, my friends, my gym, even the grocery store was just around the corner. And as much as Chloe was a hassle, I told myself it was worth it. Plus, I wasn't exactly in a position to be picky. The city's rental market was still insanely expensive, and finding a new place wasn't something I could afford at the time. But then came the breaking point. It started with the phone call from my landlord. I wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary when I picked up, but the moment I heard the landlord's voice, I knew something was off. "Hey Emma, this is Greg, your landlord. I just wanted to let you know that your roommate, Chloe, called me earlier today. She told me that you were moving out." I froze. My mind raced, trying to process the words I'd just heard. Chloe had told the landlord I was leaving? That didn't make sense. I had no intention of moving out. In fact, I had just signed a new lease with her a few months ago. I'm sorry, Greg, but that's not true. I stammered, trying to stay calm. "I'm not moving out. I didn't tell anyone that I was." Greg didn't seem convinced. "Well, she was pretty clear about it. She said she couldn't handle living with you anymore, and that she thought it was better if you left." I felt a rush of anger and disbelief. Chloe was lying to the landlord? I couldn't believe it. I had no idea why she'd be doing this, but I knew one thing for sure. It was time to confront her. I hung up the phone, my heart racing. My first instinct was to rush home and demand an explanation from Chloe. I had a million questions running through my mind. Why would she do this? Was she trying to kick me out on purpose? And what did she mean by she couldn't handle living with me anymore? I had always been respectful and patient with her. Sure, we'd had our disagreements, but we were roommates. This was normal, right? When I got home, Chloe was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up as I walked in, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. "You okay?" she asked, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "You look a little stressed." I didn't beat around the bush. "Chloe, what is going on?" "I just got off the phone with Greg, and he told me you called him saying I was moving out." Her expression didn't change. She put her phone down slowly, as if she was considering her next words carefully. "Yeah, well, I just thought it'd be easier if you weren't living here anymore. I've been trying to tell you that this place is too much for you. You're always complaining about how much you hate it, and honestly, it's been affecting my mood. You're not exactly the best roommate, Emma." I felt anger. "What are you talking about? I'm not the one who's been making this place a mess, Chloe. You're the one who never cleans up after yourself, doesn't pay bills on time, and uses my things without asking. I've been trying to make it work, but this is too much." She shrugged, almost casually, as if none of it was her fault. "Look, I found someone else who can move in. They're a lot easier to live with, and honestly, I think you'd be better off on your own. You've been struggling here, and I'm just trying to help." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was blaming me for everything, painting me as the problem, when in reality, she was the one making life unbearable. I felt a surge of frustration and anger, and without thinking, I snapped. I'm not moving out, Chloe. You don't get to make decisions for me, and you sure don't get to lie to the landlord. I'm staying here, and I'll be speaking to Greg myself to clear this up. Her eyes narrowed, and she stood up slowly, towering over me in a way that felt almost intimidating. You're not going to win this, Emma. I already told him, and he's going to listen to me. It's over for you. I felt my heart race, but there was something inside me, a mix of frustration and determination, that told me this wasn't over yet. Chloe had made a huge mistake. She didn't know who she was dealing with. I knew what I had to do, but little did I know, this was just the beginning. The next few days were a whirlwind. After my conversation with Chloe, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to act fast. The way she shrugged off the situation, as if she held all the power, really got to me. But what hurt the most was that she had the audacity to lie to the landlord about me, painting me as the problem in our living situation. That wasn't something I was going to let slide. I knew I had to call Greg, the landlord, and explain everything. I couldn't just let Chloe get away with her manipulation. I wasn't going to be the one pushed out of my own home. Not like this. The next morning, I took a deep breath, grabbed my phone, and called Greg. He picked up on the first ring. Hey, Emma. What's going on? Greg's voice was calm, but I could tell there was a hint of tension beneath it. It was as if he had some kind of understanding about what was going on, but wasn't quite ready to confront Chloe himself. Hi, Greg. I wanted to talk to you about the conversation I had with you the other day. Chloe called you, right? Telling you I was moving out. I asked, trying to keep my voice even, but I could feel the frustration bubbling under the surface. Oh yeah, Greg replied, sounding slightly uneasy. She mentioned that you were leaving, but I didn't get the full details. She told me it was your decision, and I assumed everything was fine. I didn't think you'd be upset about it. Upset? I let out a short laugh, though there was nothing funny about the situation. Greg, I'm not upset. I'm furious. Chloe lied to you. She's the one trying to kick me out. I never said I wanted to leave. She's trying to get rid of me, and I don't even know why. She's been making this place miserable for months. She's irresponsible. She never pays her share of the bills on time, and she has zero respect for me. She's not the good roommate she made herself out to be, and now she's trying to manipulate you to cover for her. She doesn't want me here because she can't control me. I could almost hear Greg's brain processing everything I said. There was a long pause before he spoke again, and when he did, his voice was a bit more serious. I see. That's definitely not what I was told, but I believe you. I don't tolerate lying or manipulation in my properties. I'll be honest, I was considering letting her stay, but if she's making things this difficult for you, I'll have to think about what's best for both of you. I felt a sense of relief. Finally, someone was listening. I don't want to make this a bigger issue than it needs to be, I said, keeping my voice calm. But I just want to stay here. This place is everything to me, and I can't afford to move out. I don't want Chloe to be here anymore. I think it's best if she's the one to leave. Greg hesitated for a moment, then replied, All right, I'll call Chloe in and talk to her myself. I don't want any more trouble with this. You're a good tenant, Emma. I've never had any issues with you. Let me handle this from here. I hung up the phone with a strange mix of relief and anxiety. It wasn't over yet. The hardest part was still to come. Chloe would have to be told that she was the one who was out. I paced around my apartment, still in disbelief that this was actually happening. Chloe had been my roommate for almost 2 years, and now everything was falling apart. I had no idea what was going to happen next, but one thing was certain. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me anymore. The next few hours felt like they dragged on forever. I couldn't focus on anything. Every little sound outside my door made my heart race, and I found myself glancing at my phone every few minutes, hoping to hear something from Greg. But it wasn't until around noon when I finally got the call. Hey, Emma, it's Greg, Greg said when I answered. I've spoken to Chloe. I'll be honest, she was furious when I told her that I'd been in contact with you. She tried to argue, but in the end, it wasn't even a close call. I've already told her she needs to find a new place to stay. I won't tolerate her lying to me or creating a toxic environment for the tenants in my building. I almost couldn't believe it. After everything that had happened, Chloe was finally being held accountable for her actions. You're serious? I asked, my voice full of disbelief. Yeah, I'm serious. I told her she's got 2 weeks to move out. She wasn't happy about it, but there's no other way around it. I'm doing what's best for everyone involved, Greg confirmed. I felt a rush of triumph mixed with relief. Chloe was finally getting what she deserved. She had caused so many issues for me, and now it was over. I wouldn't have to deal with her manipulation and chaos anymore. But little did I know, Chloe wasn't going to go down without a fight. That afternoon, I received a text message from her. It was short and to the point. You're going to regret this, Emma. You think you've won, but you haven't. I didn't even bother to respond. The way she was acting just confirmed what I'd already known. She was a toxic person, incapable of taking responsibility for her own actions. She was trying to manipulate me until the very end, and now it was all falling apart for her. The next few days passed in a blur. Chloe packed up her things with all the grace of a petulant child, throwing sharp glances in my direction whenever I was near. It was almost surreal to see her so upset over something that she'd caused herself. But as she packed up her things, I felt a strange sense of vindication. The apartment, once filled with tension, was finally starting to feel like mine again. Then came the new roommate. I was a little nervous at first. After all, the whole situation with Chloe had been so chaotic, and I wasn't sure what to expect from someone new. But when the doorbell rang and I opened it to find a calm, collected woman in her early 30s with a warm smile, I knew this was going to be a positive change. Her name was Lily, and she was a breath of fresh air compared to Chloe. She immediately put me at ease with her easygoing nature and polite demeanor. Over the next few days, we got to know each other a little better. Lily was respectful, clean, and genuinely kind. I could tell she was looking for a peaceful living situation, and that made all the difference. However, things weren't quite as peaceful for Chloe. She didn't take the news well. Every time I ran into her on the way to the elevator or in the hallway, she shot me a cold, resentful look. It was clear that she still couldn't accept the fact that she was the one being kicked out, not me. I can't believe you went behind my back like that. She spat at me one afternoon as she was leaving with the last of her belongings. You think you're so much better than me? You're going to regret this, Emma. You have no idea what you've just done. I was done listening to her. Chloe, you're the one who made this impossible, I said, trying to keep my cool. You lied, manipulated the landlord, and made living here a nightmare for both of us. You got exactly what you deserved. Her face turned red with fury, but she didn't say anything else. She stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind her. I stood there, a sense of finality settling in. I was free. The apartment that had once felt like a prison had now become a peaceful haven once more. And as for Chloe, I was done with her. Whatever came next, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her toxic energy back into my life. But little did I know, Chloe had other plans. A few days passed, and things seemed to settle down. Lily, my new roommate, was a joy to live with. We had a couple of chats about work, life, and how we both had our fair share of difficult roommates in the past. It felt like a fresh start, and I was grateful for it. But, as much as I tried to move on and put the whole situation with Chloe behind me, I couldn't shake the feeling that she wouldn't let me get away with this so easily. Chloe wasn't the type to just walk away quietly. She had made that perfectly clear in her last angry words, and I couldn't help but wonder what she might do next. It didn't take long for her plans to start unfolding. It was about a week after she moved out when I got a call from Greg. My heart dropped as I answered the phone. Hey, Emma, it's Greg. We've got a situation. I immediately tensed. What happened? Is everything all right with the apartment? Well, not exactly. Chloe. Well, she's been trying to stir up trouble, Greg said, his voice tinged with frustration. She's been making some pretty serious accusations against you to the building manager, saying that you've been harassing her and causing issues in the building. She's even threatened to get legal involved if something isn't done about it. I felt a sickening knot tighten in my stomach. What? Are you serious? Yeah. She's claiming you've been spreading rumors about her to the other tenants, and now she's demanding compensation for the emotional distress she's been under since moving out. She's saying that you made her feel unsafe here. Are you kidding me? I felt a rush of anger, but I forced myself to stay calm. Greg, I haven't done any of that. I haven't even spoken to her since the day she left. This is all made up. I know, Emma. I don't buy it for a second, but I need to know that you're not going to escalate things. I'm going to talk to her, but I just wanted you to know what's going on, Greg explained. I don't want this to turn into a bigger mess than it already is. Let me handle it. I thanked Greg, but I couldn't help but feel a little shaken. Chloe's behavior was getting even worse than I had expected. She was trying to turn everyone against me, twisting the narrative to make herself seem like the one who had been wronged. I wasn't about to let her succeed. The next few days were filled with more chaos than I would have liked. Chloe started showing up at the building almost every other day, standing in the lobby or even knocking on my door, trying to confront me. Every time she did, I'd just ignore her, keeping the door shut and locking the chain to prevent her from getting in. The last thing I wanted was to engage with her. But I could hear her outside, shouting, banging on the door, demanding answers. It was clear she had no intention of letting this go. I had to do something. I couldn't let Chloe ruin my peace again. I decided it was time to take action. I gathered every piece of evidence I had. Texts, screenshots of emails, recordings of her ranting when she was still living here. Anything I could find that would show just how unhinged she had been during our time as roommates. I even reached out to a few of the other tenants, just to make sure no one had heard or seen anything that could back her story. I wasn't going to let Chloe twist the truth any longer. The final straw came when Chloe showed up at the building office. I had just come back from work and was walking through the lobby when I saw her speaking with the building manager, Karen. I could see that Chloe was crying, her eyes red and puffy. Karen looked sympathetic, but I could tell she wasn't entirely convinced by Chloe's act. "Are you sure about this?" Karen was asking Chloe, her voice soft but skeptical. "I mean, we haven't had any complaints about Emma, and from what I understand, you were the one who left in a hurry, not the other way around." Chloe's voice was high-pitched, shaking with fake emotion. "I didn't leave in a hurry. Emma, she took everything from me. She turned the landlord against me. She's been stalking me, following me, trying to ruin my reputation. I don't feel safe anymore. I'm scared to even leave my apartment. I need help." I couldn't take it anymore. I walked up to the counter and stood right next to them, my presence enough to make Chloe snap her head in my direction. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice steady, but laced with anger. "Chloe, you need to stop this. I'm not going to let you get away with making up lies to ruin my life. You're the one who lied to Greg. You're the one who tried to kick me out of this apartment for no reason other than your own selfishness. And now you're spreading rumors to anyone who will listen." Chloe's eyes widened. "I'm not lying." You're lying," I interrupted, cutting her off. "And I'm done with it. You can keep trying to play the victim, but it's not going to work. I've got everything I need to prove what really happened. If you want to escalate this, I'll take it to court. I'll make sure the truth comes out." Chloe faltered for a second, her smug expression wavering as she realized I wasn't intimidated by her antics anymore. Karen, thankfully, stepped in. "I think that's enough, Chloe. I don't appreciate these kinds of accusations without any solid proof. Emma, we'll have a look at everything you've provided and make sure this situation is handled properly." Chloe's face turned bright red, and I could see her jaw tighten. She was losing control of the situation, and I wasn't about to let her regain any ground. "This isn't over, Emma," she spat, her voice low and threatening. "Actually, I think it is," I said, my voice cool and collected. "You're not getting away with this. And if you keep trying to cause trouble, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are." With that, I turned to leave the office, walking away with my head held high. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt in control. But as I walked back to my apartment, my phone buzzed with a new text from Chloe. "You'll regret this. Just wait." I shook my head, rolling my eyes. It seemed like she was only digging herself deeper. She'd learned nothing. Chloe was evicted long ago, and with that, I thought I could finally breathe a little easier. I managed to cut all ties with her. No more calls, no more texts, and no more surprise visits to the building. It was over, and the sense of relief was almost palpable. A few weeks passed, and things started to feel normal again. Lily and I settled into a comfortable rhythm as roommates. We shared laughs over dinner, exchanged stories from work, and bonded over the little things that made life enjoyable again. I started to forget what it felt like to constantly be on edge, worrying about Chloe's next move. Greg, the landlord, was a quiet ally in all of this. After the eviction, he made it clear that Chloe would no longer be allowed to rent in any of his properties. The other tenants were also made aware of the situation, and while some of them seemed to take Chloe's side at first, they soon saw through her lies when the truth came to light. It wasn't long before she became a cautionary tale, a reminder to everyone that not everyone in the world could be trusted. And Chloe? Well, she quickly learned that trying to manipulate others to get what she wanted didn't work in the real world. After being kicked out of the building, she tried to make her way into another apartment complex, but her reputation preceded her. When she showed up to view a new place, the building managers contacted Greg. They wanted to know about her history as a tenant, and Greg didn't hesitate to warn them. Word spread, and soon, Chloe was finding it harder and harder to get a place to stay. She became the kind of person people avoided, and her attempts to make life difficult for me became nothing more than a distant memory. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I had to keep looking over my shoulder. I was free. I was living my life again, unburdened by the toxicity Chloe had tried to bring into my world. But Chloe, of course, wasn't done causing drama. One day, I heard from one of the other tenants that she'd been trying to contact them, asking for help to get back on her feet. She had apparently run into some financial trouble after being evicted, and now she was trying to play the sympathy card. People weren't buying it, and no one gave her the time of day. She was still burning bridges everywhere she went, and by the time I heard about it, I couldn't help but shake my head. I couldn't help but feel a little bit of pity for her. She was clearly lost, still holding on to this idea that the world owed her something. Maybe, deep down, she would realize that playing the victim only got her so far. But I couldn't let that be my problem anymore. Lily and I took a trip to the beach a month later, a mini vacation to celebrate getting through the chaos. It was the kind of peaceful day I had been craving for so long. No drama, no toxic people, just the sun and the sound of waves crashing against the shore. It felt like a fresh start, and for once, it wasn't just an escape, it was a new chapter. Life was getting better. I was rebuilding my trust in others, slowly but surely. Chloe was a thing of the past. Her attempts at revenge had backfired, and now she was just another person who would eventually fade into the background. I wasn't about to let her be a part of my future anymore. My world was moving forward, and it was better than it had been in a long time. And so, with Chloe out of the picture and no more drama to deal with, I finally found peace. A real peace. One where I didn't have to look over my shoulder or worry about the next shoe to drop. And for that, I was grateful. Let me know your thoughts on this whole situation.